So in an ideal situation, you should do what you love, but if it's not possible, then you should try to at least love what you do, get better at it, enhance your skills, get some more experience, and be financially independent so that you're also able to pursue your passions and other things and do what you really love to do.
Most people can relate to being either a settler or an explorer. Those with a settler mindset aim to get settled, and their life's accomplishment tends towards security in everything from their career to their relationship to their family and social life. The flip side is explorer mindset. Explorer rejects the common notion of settling and prefer to change their routine and situations regularly. Perhaps they are consistent traveler or avoid commitments that tie them down. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session of Honest Talk, we have with us very special guest today, Ms. Monisha K. Gumbar ma'am. She has about 10 years of cross-functional industry and consulting experience, including a focus on strategy design and execution, business development, change management, and corporate training. Currently, she is engaged as a strategy advisor for the Saudi-based public sector organization. She has founded 2 YouTube channels wherein she talks about rather simplifies multitude of management related topics based on her understanding and cutting edge research. Additionally, she follows creative pursuit through production of audiobooks for the young generation. She is doing her doctorate in business management, focusing her research on a strategy related subject, and is certified balance scorecard professional. About 5 years back, she decided to take a break from personal and intellectual growth and stepped into the arena of writing. She has 4 immensely popular novels to her credit, raising serious social issues and her signature lightweight narratives. She has received a lot of attention from the prestigious media houses in India and GCC like the Asian Age, Hindustan Times, the Tribune, Gulf News, etc. She has been on the cover of Gulf Weekly twice, and her book Bahir was featured in the New York Times in the list of a New York story awaits. She is passionate about youth empowerment and has more than 100,000 followers online, mostly young people. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that I'm very happy to announce actually that today we are doing our second session with her. So first of all, ma'am, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much, Harsh, for having me here again. And I really look forward to talking to you again.
Same here, ma'am. Thank you so much. So moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is doing what you love or loving what you do. Ma'am, my very first question to you is actually it is related to the title of our today's conversation only. So as a management professional who also writes graphic novels for young generation, what would you rather choose, doing what you love or loving what you do?
Harsh, I would just put it that way. If you are in a position in your life where you can afford to do what you love, then that is the best choice to have. But sometimes the circumstances are like that, and we have responsibilities that we still have to do something which would pay the bills, right?
Right.
In those kind of situations, it is better to start or at least try to find some purpose in your work and start enjoying it. And once you start getting better at it and apply your skills and talents, you will realize that you will actually love what you are doing. So in an ideal situation, you should do what you love, but if it's not possible, then you should try to at least love what you do, get better at it, enhance your skills, get some more experience, and be financially independent so that you're also able to pursue your passions and other things and do what you really love to do. So it really depends on the context as to where you are in life and at what position. Yeah.
Indeed, ma'am. I think you have actually very beautifully explained this. Ma'am, my next question to you is rather what I remember last time we spoke about getting out of our comfort zone. So now what you are doing in terms of the YouTube channel, is it an extension of your comfort zone or you have moved out of it?
Yeah, I've always been out of comfort zone physically, to be very honest, because I just have put myself in so many different places that sometimes, and I don't claim to have excellent time management skills. So sometimes it does get a bit too uncomfortable for me to be able to manage so many things. But the fact is that I really enjoy what I do, both in terms of being a strategy advisor and also pursuing my creative uh, passions or talents, which is in the form of these YouTube channels which I've started. One of the channels obviously related to management, and the other one is completely different, related to telling stories for teenagers and children. So that way I'm able to achieve a balance. Sometimes definitely I have stepped out of my comfort zone, and it's needed to do that. Exactly. But the fact is that because I love it, I'm still comfortable, at least mentally. And, I do have peace of mind that despite doing so many various activities, I still feel comfortable that I'm able to do all this and able to achieve all these things.
Well, yeah. Ma'am, my next question to you is, or actually it's a request to you, can you please elaborate why YouTube for management related concepts?
Okay, so this actually happened last year during the pandemic times. And as you have already given my introduction, that I had taken like 5-6 years break to actually write books. So I had written 4 books during that break, and they were all related to teenagers and their issues, but they were all motivational in nature. At the same time, I also started doing my BBA, which is like PhD in management, related to a strategy topic. And I thought that I would get back to work, working full time, so to say, but definitely not 9 to 5. But I wanted to also pursue this part of my career development, so to say. So, but because of pandemic, things were not really working out. The market wasn't looking all that great. And I was feeling restless. And I thought there is something which I should be doing, because if I want to get back into the game, I should at least be able to talk about some topics. I have studied about it. I have done like academic research. But the fact is, because I had a 5 or 6 years break, to get back into the game, I thought maybe it would be a good place to start talking about it on various platforms. And one thing led to another. And I have a friend who's got a company in Bahrain, and we sort of got together. And he's also a very renowned management professional. And we thought, let's start a knowledge platform. And that's how we started this YouTube channel, which is called ProBuzz. His company's name is ProBiz. And so this knowledge platform, its name is ProBuzz channel. And he talks about areas which he's expert in, and I stick to areas which I'm comfortable about talking. And I want to simplify management related topics and not make them sound too technical that people don't even understand. For example, if you're talking about strategy or strategy design, execution, people like to use these buzzwords, but they really don't know what it means and how does it really apply to practical life. So I thought, let me approach all these topics in a very structured manner, so that if somebody comes on ProBuzz Knowledge, if he just clicks on one of the videos, he knows what is the next way forward. So I have made a whole sort of series on strategy, and now we are also doing summarizing the leadership, the HBR books on various topics such as leadership, change management, strategy, obviously. So there's lots of things in pipeline. So this is regarding the management portal, or you can say ProBuzz. The other one, which is a YouTube channel which deals with audiobooks. So I was again, everything comes out of being uncomfortable and feeling restless, because when you have so much to say and you're not getting a platform and you're not being able to reach people, so you always are trying to find ways to attract more and more people to your way of thinking, not in the sense that it's for my own brand building or anything, but I felt that these are the serious issues which should be raised and it should go to maximum number of people. And I think YouTube is very popular. It's a great channel actually to start with. And we started with audiobooks, so which is called Vachi audiobooks. Vachi basically means Vachan, or it's another word for goddess Saraswati or Lakshmi. So that is how the whole concept came about. And we have released one audiobook which is based on my graphic novel Dolly Won't Play. It deals with the serious issues of child abuse and learning difficulties. And we have a few books in pipeline, which I have written, and one of them is also written by my daughter. It is based on the topic of veganism, and it's for children basically. So this is basically the story behind these two YouTube channels.
No, this is actually inspiring, kind of an inspiring thing for all of us. And I would like to tell my viewers that they may find the link of both of our YouTube channel in the description of this video. Now, my next question to you is, again, it's a kind of a request to you. Can you tell us how did the idea of producing audiobook came about and what difficulties you face actually?
Yeah, idea of audiobooks, I have already explained that I did want to reach maximum number of people. I thought audiobooks is something, now, you see, even though people do buy books and collect books, but the attention span is so much, and we are looking for entertainment everywhere,
Exactly.
We don't want it to be boring. So people are now turning towards audiobooks. So that's how the concept came about. But in terms of difficulties, yes, thankfully, I have a guy in India and who's doing all the video editing and giving all his creative inputs, and he's very serious about his work. He's passionate about his work. His name is Satish Gola, and he's helping me to put together everything. But difficulties definitely, because it was the first time we were doing it, and we didn't want the audiobook to look like any regular audiobook,
Right.
Just there is some voice which sounds robotic and it keeps on going and flipping pages. If you see other audiobooks on YouTube, so we wanted to give a more visual touch also. So you have a really nice introduction, like it's a movie like experience, you just grab your popcorn and relax. It's just 1 or 20 minutes, and you are actually reading a book, listening to a book, but there are also visuals attached. So you will also have some Bollywood numbers which are included, which are also done by a couple of my friends who are great. One of them, her name is Atira Gopakumar. She's very talented. So she has given her voice. Another girl who has done the whole thing, her name is Amreen Ahmed. I'm just giving their names out because I really do want to acknowledge that without them, it would not have been possible. And the graphics, obviously, they have been done by Pankaj Rathore. So I have got a very interesting team with me who helped me out. So, but again, difficulty in terms of planning and execution, it was difficult. It took longer than we expected, but the end result is really fascinating. And I've got, thankfully, with the grace of God, I have got a reasonably good response so far. So we've crossed like 100,000 views already, and quite a few nice comments. People are also interacting with me through this. So hopefully, if everything goes well, it will be fine. But it's not easy, to be honest. So it's not that easy a task which I thought.
This is actually totally amazing. Now, my next question to you is so about your current engagement as a strategy advisor. Can you tell us more about it?
Actually, it is for a Saudi-based government organization, and I'm involved in strategy planning and execution, but my role is like that I'm not allowed to actually talk about it in public. Yeah.
It's completely perfect.
But obviously, I help them to design and execute their strategic goals and objectives.
Okay, that's fine. Now, my next question. What advice would you have for those who wish to follow their other passions? Because you have done so, I'm sure you can actually advise them.
Yeah, I would say that people always have this thing in mind, that whether I do this or do that, whether I do a full-time job or I follow my passion, I have always said that it's not really a choice. You can do both. You just have to put in more work. You could just have to work harder than you are used to. So even if you have a full-time job, you can still follow your other passions, and don't make excuses, that I don't have enough time or I don't have enough resources. If you give out this message out in the world, also, like they say, like to the universe or Brahm, you can call it, then it will definitely respond back through something, through ideas, through resources. People will start coming together and you will be able to do it. But your intention should be clear and it should be fair. You have to be fair to yourself, that if you have that want in you, then you don't let it go. You just follow it and something will definitely work out. So that is the first thing, is once you have made up your mind to get started, as they say, that is half the battle won. Rest is all execution, right? Exactly. So then things will just fall into place once you have decided that you want to do something.
All right, ma'am. Actually, this was really a very meaningful answer from your side. Ma'am, my next question to you is, since you are also a well-known author, can you please recommend some books you have read recently so that people can get kind of a help?
Yeah, actually, since the time this pandemic had started last year, 2020, we were more at home, and my husband got really interested in watching YouTube videos on about nationalism and about our country, about the history, about culture, about religion. And that's how we came across a lot of authors, who are also who are influencers in a way, but their basic idea is to actually propagate the idea of nationalism, right? So in whatever capacity they can. So this is one of the books which I have been reading. This is by Rajiv Malhotra.
Okay.
So he's a very famous person. It's called Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Power. When he talks about the battlegrounds, and the whole concept of what artificial intelligence is and how data is actually the gold mine and what we can do about it, and how do you actually influence people's minds and things like that, and how you can protect yourself from getting influenced negatively. And this is something which can actually change the whole ethos of nations. So you have to tread very carefully and have to have proper artificial intelligence strategies to deal with this, both positively and the negative impact also. So this is one book. And the second one is, as I've mentioned, that have been reading about the history, which is so this is called Brainwashed Republic.
Okay.
So this is by Neeraj Atri, and this book actually talks about the fact that all these years since we have grown up, we have been deluded to think that our history is actually our mythology. So things like Ramayana and Mahabharata and the whole historical pursuits that we have done, and our achievements, our cultural and religious and Sanskritic achievements, we have been made to feel not a part of it and not really proud of it, and have taken all these things as a mythological factor, as something which is just related to faith, but there are no evidences behind it, right? So this is what we have been taught, but now there people are really waking up to the idea that we have been brainwashed all these years, and it's time to actually start owning up our past and being proud of the fact that we belong to such a rich and diverse culture, which is all inclusive and which accepts people of all religions, all cultures. And but at the same time, we don't also want to be exploited the way we have been, in the past, since almost like 2000 years, I would say. So this is first thing is we have to correct our the history which is being taught in academic institutions. And I think this is a good place to start. At least people should have knowledge about it. So this is the second book. And the third one is, obviously, it is my book. Okay. It is called Teen Trilogy. So this is basically just a combination of all my three books, Sick of Being Healthy, Dying to Live, and Dolly Won't Play. So we have combined it into one thick book now. It's more than 650 pages. So this is called Teen Trilogy. And so you are just getting a package deal, at the price of one, three books at the price of one. But
right.
So, and you can download it from Amazon also. Yeah.
Sure. And ma'am, I can say there's a lot more to learn from you, but today I don't want to take too much of your time. So moving to my last question of this session. Ma'am, last time you said that you are highly influenced by the Bhagavad Gita. Please, can you let us know, or can you please explain what are the main takeaways?
Yes, actually, yeah, I'm highly influenced by Bhagavad Gita, but I'm not a teacher of Bhagavad Gita. I don't claim to know everything about it. I'm just a student, to be honest. And it's only been 1.5 years that I've actually started out. But it is the eternal truth, basically. It has come right from Bhagwan himself. So one of the things which I realized, which is the concept of Aham Brahmasmi, means that I am cosmos. And for example, you, me, everything we see, all the human beings, all the animals, trees, plants, everything which lives or doesn't live, which you see, which you don't see, which is there, which is not there, the past, present, future, we are all part of the same cosmos, Brahm. So whenever we are hurting anyone else, we are actually hurting ourselves. So we have to be very mindful of that fact that we are all connected and we come from a single source, right? And so this is one takeaway, and which I think it's so beautifully explained in Gita. And if you interpret it, and if everybody understands Gita in their own way, right? And it depends on their life situations also, where they are at that point of lives, what this frame of mind is. So this was something which I really understood. I thought I have got it. It was almost like a eureka moment for me when I realized that we are all so, even though we keep hearing it, right, that we are all connected, but we don't really mean it in spirit. So I just hope that people start understanding it, that when we are harming someone else, we are harming the universe, right? We are harming everything else, and we are harming ourselves actually. And second is also I mean, there are lots of takeaways, and I could just go on, but I'll just restrict myself to two. Is the idea of detachment, that yes, you are allowed to feel passion, to feel love, to feel various emotions, fear, insecurities, and you are bonding with your family. That's okay, but at the same time you have to maintain some sort of a detachment also, that even if it's happening to you, for example, if you are ill, if you are able to say that no, it's not, it's just happening to your body, it's not happening to yourself, right? And this is not you, you are something much beyond that. Exactly the concept of Aham Brahmasmi also gives you a feeling of detachment when you are in this material world on this earth. So that if you are able to achieve, it's not easy, you know, it takes a long time, and some people just get it in a few seconds. It depends on their level, but to get to there, it's a struggle. And this is something which was very beautiful, and it made me very objective about so many things, about failures, about struggles, about everything you see in the world, the miseries, the anxieties. So you need to stay detached a little bit, but it doesn't mean that you will just go out in the jungle and just leave everything and not do your karma or your dharma. You still have to do that, but at the same time you need to know that this is not the eternal truth. This is reality, but it's not truth. So those are the concepts which I understood, and I would love to elaborate those in the future sometime with you if you would have me. But I think this is highly recommended that the youth of today, if they just read the Bhagavad Gita, they are completely sorted.
Exactly. No, I think these all are very powerful words from you, Sharon. I'm sure the viewers, those are watching, they are surely going to find this powerful as well. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and giving your important time again. We look forward to conduct more sessions with you in future. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside, I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside, I'm alone.